It's Syracuse Sports coming back at you here, presented by Krause Health, the exclusive healthcare partner for Syracuse Athletics. My name is Brent Axe. I will be your sports maitre d' for this episode, and we thank you for being here. We thank you for subscribing by going on to Spotify, Apple, and YouTube, hitting that button and saying, listen, when a new episode of Syracuse Sports is up, I demand that you send it to me when it is available, because this podcast is available on demand when you want, but make sure you subscribe and follow wherever you get your podcast so when a new episode pops up, you're not losing out on the latest. Don't you forget either, kids. After every Syracuse football game, we are live, our live Syracuse football postgame shows. We bring you inside the locker room. We get reports on the road, the Orange at Clemson this week. We will get either our friend Chris Carlson or Javon Edmonds on from Death Valley to recap Syracuse and Clemson, and we do this after every Syracuse football game, and our Syracuse Sports Insiders get exclusive voice heard on that post-game show and here on the Syracuse Sports Podcast. We're going to hear from you guys on a subject we're going to discuss coming up here shortly, and being a Syracuse Sports Insider gives you direct text message access to me anytime. Your thoughts, your opinions, your questions about Syracuse sports. What questions do you want me to ask Fran Brown, Syracuse football players throughout basketball, lacrosse season, and as the expression goes, and so much more. Become a Syracuse Sports Insider today. It's just $3.99 a month, but you could try it free for 2 weeks. All the info there on your screen and in the show notes on how you can sign up. Syracuse and Clemson, Death Valley. Clemson's a place Syracuse has actually played pretty well historically in the ACC at times, other times not so much. So I'm kind of curious what Syracuse team shows up. And this is a Clemson team whose paw is hurting a little bit here. Did you catch Dabo Swinney's press conference this week? It was a thing. We have a clip here. Dabo was, let's just say my man was in his feelings here a little bit.
If they want me gone, if they tired of winning, they can send me on their way, because that's all we've done is win. So if they tired of winning, we've won this league 8 out of the last 10 years. Is that not good? I'm just asking. Is that good? I don't know if that's good or not. To win your league 8 out of 10 years, to go to the playoffs 7 out of 10 years, to be in 4 national championships, win it twice. Yeah, we're a little down right now. Take your shots, but I got a long memory, in case y'all don't know. We'll be all right. We'll bounce back. This is a program built to last. Always has been. Always will be. And I would just say, if you give up on us if you don't believe in us because we've lost 2 games down to the last straight and we're one, you didn't believe in us anyway, so it don't matter. You wasn't all in anyway. If you're all in, you burn the ships, man. There ain't no exit strategy. Like, you're freaking all in. And hey, listen, I mean, if Clemson's tired of winning, they can send me on my way, but I'm gonna go somewhere else and coach. I ain't going to the beach. Hell, I'm 55. I got a long way to go. Y'all gonna have to deal with me for a while.
Yeah, Dabo was feeling it at his press conference this week, and trust me, that is probably the second or third best thing he said at that presser. So if you're looking for a nice, entertaining time to sit down and watch even something that's better than on Netflix or Hulu right now, watch Dabo's press conference from this week. But was it cover for a team that's struggling? Clemson is 1-2. They're coming off a college football playoff appearance. Dabo's not wrong to cite the level of success that they've had, right? But it's funny how coaches will lean on that when it suits them, right? Because what do coaches say most of the time? We're not worried about last year. This year is this year. I'm just focused on what's ahead of me, right? The one game at a time approach. But when it suits them, boy, do they bring in that past success and all that stuff that we were supposed to forget about, right? So why is Dabo in his feelings beyond Clemson being 1-2? And let's not forget, guys, they didn't get their doors blown off by Georgia Tech last week. They lost on a field goal as time expired to Georgia Tech. They lost to LSU by a touchdown. Now, they were down a lot, I think, into the third quarter against Troy, ended up winning that game. But bottom line is Clemson has not looked like Clemson. They have fallen out of the rankings. So is this a Clemson team that is vulnerable and that Syracuse can strike? I turn to my guy, Eric Mac Lain, former Clemson offensive lineman, ACC Network analyst. He's got a couple of great podcasts out there right now. And trust me, as you're going to hear and see, our guy Eric was in his feelings a little bit too, because he can't really put his thumb on what is wrong with Clemson. He certainly had some opinions and some things that he has seen on film, quarterback play, stars on defense not stepping up, a running game that maybe has to complement what should be a much better passing game as it is. with the talent at receiver and what we thought Cade Klubnik was coming into the year. So we're going to try and sort all this out and preview Syracuse and Clemson coming up here shortly. But our Syracuse Sports Insiders certainly saw that Dabo press conference this week. Joe M. says Dabo is a master. He's obviously fired up by the local and national doubters, but by putting it on himself, he is firing up his players. Michael W. says, I'm curious what type of perception an outsider with a lot of ACC knowledge thinks of Syracuse now that Fran Brown has arrived and we're starting to get recruits. Can they ever win the ACC? Something we will discuss coming up with Eric Mac Lain. Shane B. says, I used to live in SEC country between, not to mention, North Carolina for over 15 years of my adult life. I have never seen a college coach with the success he's had have to defend himself that much. And Gene notes, it's amazing how a fan base can be as that spoiled as it's been for so long. 9 wins is the worst he's done in 14 years, ? Any school would be lucky to have him. So we will talk to Eric Mac Lain about all of that and more, who's the best team in the ACC, and a couple other thoughts on the world of ACC football. But we will focus primarily on the Syracuse-Clemson matchup coming up here, and can't wait to talk to Mac. But a reminder, friends, we have had the great privilege to feature some of your original music here on Syracuse Sports. We are happy to do it, and all you have to do is get in touch. All the info is in the show notes on how you can get in touch with me. Send me your music, and we will highlight it here on the pod. We featured this band before, turning back to them here. They're called James and the Kyusonics. They're actually a local band here from Central New York. We've featured a song of theirs before, so all the info on where you can find James and the Kyusonics is in the show notes, so go follow them on Spotify and wherever you listen to your music. We're going to highlight a little bit of their song called Work It Here, and then we'll play the song in its entirety at the end of the podcast. And we could do the same for you if you're an independent artist, the same for you if you're in a band and want your music out there a little bit more. We would love to do it for you. So please send us your original music to be highlighted here on Syracuse Sports. So let's work it a little bit here with James and the Kyusonics, and then we'll work in a conversation with our friend Eric Mac Lain of the ACC Network. Mac, we got so much to talk about here, as we were discussing before the red light came on. The ACC's balling, man, so we got to get to that. But I have to start with this question. Is Dabo okay? Is he all right? My man was in his feelings at that press conference the other day. Do you think that's a coach who's trying to take the heat off his team? Has a lot of that been bubbling up here? Yeah. Are Clemson fans spoiled? I have so many questions about Dabo's. We could do this whole pod on that press conference alone.
You joked about we're going to go 3-4 hours Joe Rogan style. We might just to cover all our bases here. And, it's a probably yes to all that, right? Like probably yes, he's frustrated. Probably yes to some things bubbling over. Probably yes to wanting to deflect from his guys, get the attention on himself so they can just play and not talk about them, talk about him as a defensive tactic, not as a look at me tactic. And, I think Clemson fans are spoiled, myself included, because of the decade run plus that Clemson went on. And he's rattling off the accomplishments. Yeah, that's why. That's why you're held to a different standard. That's why there's a different expectation. Congrats. You did it to yourself. It's a double-edged sword with success. All the great things are great, but then when it's kind of bad, it's really bad. And it's not to what the standard, is upheld and what has been created by you and the standard that has been set by you. And so, I think it is interesting really the only quarrel that I have with all of it was when he questioned, where did this come from? Why are we judged different? Of course you're judged differently, and you want to be judged differently. So that was the only thing. When he said that, I was like, all right, like, just, you need to get off the mic, go do something else. But everything else, I think it is what it is. And he probably had super, attention to detail why he was saying those things. And it is frustrating. But, at the end of the day, how he's built this thing, I believe, is built to last, and the way that he's done it. Now that doesn't mean that there aren't tweaks along the way. Ferrari back in the day built a car they thought built to last, but guess what? They had to tune it. They had to make different things. There's new technology, there's new availability, new rules, things of that nature. And so are they marginally dipping their toe in that, specifically looking at the transfer portal? Yes. I don't think it has anything to do with NIL. That was the favorite thing that everybody wanted to point out. Well,
that was the thing they'd go to.
They're paying people more than anybody else. Yeah. Okay. Outside of, like, they don't have 40 million hanging around, but what's allotted to Clemson and in the athletic department, they're taking as much as they can of that money and pumping it into into football. And so it has nothing to do with that. It's just a bizarre time. And you look at the 1 and 2 start. And I think what honestly, I'm sorry, I'm talking so much.
You're fine. Here in a second. You're fine.
I think what's
you're like Dabo. You just got to get it out.
I just got to get it out.
That's what I'm here for, man. You just got to get it out of your
system.
system.
This is therapeutic for me. Thank you.
Dr. Axe is here. I'm here for you, man.
Giving me this mic. I think the most frustrating piece, just when you look at it and you see you hear him say, we're a couple of plays away from being 3-0. And people hate that, right? They're like, I don't want to see it. But it is true. And the margin of victory, when you're playing teams that are that good, teams that are this great, as an LSU team who's ranked, I believe, 3 or 4 in the country, as a Georgia Tech team that's now 18 in the country, probably should be higher if we're being honest about how they've looked. The margin of error is thin, and it only takes a couple of plays. You ask any great coach that, any championship, any great run they've been a part of, things can be swung because of 1, 2, 3, 4 plays that happen. And that is true. And I've been a part of that. I know that. I look back at my 2015 national championship game. Alabama doesn't kick that onside kick. We win by 2 touchdowns, but they swung the momentum, and it happened, and they ripped it all right back. And so as frustrated as that makes people, it is true. And I still think this is a very good Clemson team. I think for whatever reason, the most frustrating part to me, it's going to be a key of this podcast, as long as we're talking about Clemson, the word frustrating, it is Axe. It seems like this is a team with 60 transfers that are figuring each other out. Not a team, which they are, of guys that have been together 3-4 years and have been around. Like that's what's so frustrating.
That's what I don't get. I've watched every Clemson game this year, and I'm like, this is not a new team. They were together last year. The talent is not matching the execution, the whole thing. But before we move on from Dabo, here's my thing with that. Where I think he's got a legitimate point is what you brought up. You did not get your doors blown off by Georgia Tech. It came down to the last second. The LSU game was close, right? But coaches all the time will say things like, last year doesn't matter. And it's like, well, when can, if it's the media, if it's the fan base or anything, do what coaches do? No, I'm talking about last week. I'm talking about what you didn't do against Georgia Tech. I'm not talking about 10 years ago. And, I'm not questioning Clemson football generally. But when it suits a coach, they'll bring that in, right? They'll just drop that on. Oh, well, you want to run me out? I'm not going to the beach. I'm like, whoa, buddy. I'm talking about why you couldn't execute against Georgia Tech last week. Like, so you can tell, like, coaches use these things as a little therapeutic session, and like we said, to distract from other things. That's my only issue with these things. Like, no, hold on a second. You can't tell me this week, last year doesn't matter, and now it does. Like that. And I'm not saying Dabo did that specifically. I find it funny when coaches break out of that coaching mold, right?
That's what it is. And I can think of like 65 million reasons coach won't be anywhere else. So and not that that's not even a question on anybody's mind. So when he brought it up, it was like, oh, what are we doing? Calm down. Calm down. Easy. And some crazy fans, maybe he's on Twitter. Maybe he has a burner account on Twitter and he's been reading some of the crazies,
get
crazy
off
posts. That's a dangerous place.
What do you tell your players, coach? Get away from there. Exactly. It's a wretched hive of scum and villainy. That's what's said in Star Wars. So you kind of hit on it here, but I want to phrase the question this way, Mac. I'm not going to say what's wrong with Clemson, but I am going to say what's up with Clemson. When you watch the film, when you look back on it here, I know some of it is confusing, but what can you put your thumb on and what this team is just not doing that it needs to be?
Yeah, and I think as as harsh, as unfair, however you want to phrase it, a lot is going to come down to quarterback. And here's the reason why. A, it's the most important and most difficult position in all of sports. Playing quarterback at college and NFL, it gets harder when you get there. B, it's the highest paid. C, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it. You touch the ball every single play. And so, a lot is riding on the quarterback play and the lack of execution, the lack of reads, the lack of really simple stuff, falling down, tripping on a blade of turf. It's just strange things that we're watching happening in live time. And you just got to look around like, what's going on here? All right, let's wake up. Let's get going. And I know it's difficult to play the position, but just play free. And just play with your hair on fire, what you've done your whole life, get the ball to these great athletes, which that I think is the interesting thing. It's a couple of years ago, we could sit here and say, well, they don't have this, they don't have that, nobody's getting separation, blah, blah, blah. These dudes are elite. These guys, I think, are the best receiving core in the country. Get them the football. Axe, throw it to them. You see a guy screaming down wide open down the middle of the field, rip it. Anticipate, throw, and the thing is, when I do my little film recaps, any Syracuse fan watching, if you want to go see why Clemson's stinking it up, we kind of do that. But the interesting piece about this past Georgia Tech thing is there were more good things that happened than either of the two games before. Now there's still enough bad that you can't win football games, or you can't win enough, with the margin of error there when you play these teams. There were throws where he is anticipating, he is ripping it, he finds the guys, goes through his progression, he stays patient in the pocket, but it needs to be every play. Like, you're a fourth-year guy, you're a third-year starter, you're getting paid millions of dollars to throw touchdowns, not to graduate, not to be a good person, which all that I hope still comes with it, because that's a huge piece. But that's not why you're getting paid, okay? And so when money gets involved, this thing gets super weird. So I think it starts there. On top of that, which that's a big, big problem, right? Quarterbacks should be erasers, not adding to it. And so when you have that, I think there's also some offensive line issues. I think there's also a very inexperienced running back that's playing the position at this level for the first time, that hasn't been patient every play, that doesn't know how to lean to the B gap and then bam, snap to the backside A, because he hasn't ever done it before. And so unless you have an offensive line that's just mowing guys down the field 4 yards a clip and there's easy running lanes, that's hard. That's difficult. And then the defensive side of the ball, I think they've been playing well. I know Coach Swinney wanted to blame them, which I think was crazy when he said our defense couldn't get a stop. That's just nuts to me. I think they've been playing well. They've been on the field way too much. Like, Clemson has got to play complementary football, helping each other out, offense sustaining drives to give your defense a little bit of a break. Defense, get the ball back, get off the field. Things of that nature. And so with all that said, Axe, there's a lot of issues going on right now.
And they've played LSU, Troy, and Georgia Tech. And I want to get your opinion about Georgia Tech, as you were there last week and have seen this team. But I want to backtrack on something there, because when I think of all the names that have been through Clemson running the football in recent years, and you look at it now, and they're 120th in the country, they're averaging just over 100 yards per game. How much is that affecting Cade, and that they just don't have this running game, that there's, like, the defense is on the field too much because they can't run the football, because Cade is being asked to do too much and not it's a vicious cycle, right? It all affects one side of the ball or the other. And you're missing Antonio Williams right now. I don't know if you have an update on him. If you do, please feel free to share that. But how much of that is that Clemson's not running the ball as they seem to traditionally do?
Well, here's the interesting thing of that. And I didn't think they'd be good at running the ball this year. I thought that would be by choice, though, more so, because you feel like 5 receivers that can spread it out. You've got a quarterback that should, and we thought was going to be elite, maybe still could be by the end of the year. It's early. And so I thought they were going to throw it 30, 40, 45 times a game.
So they factored that in. Yeah.
Kind of like Syracuse. I thought they'd run it maybe when they had to, balance, a little bit of balance, whatever. If they just go super light box, hey, check it, here we go. So I'm not as, kind of concerned with that. Now, if you're going to do it, you need to do it more. Like, you need to hand the ball to Adam Randall more. I would like to see, the talented freshmen get in there that everybody was super excited about, and Gideon Davidson run the football. He had one run last week for 6 yards, and then we didn't see him again for the whole game. And so it's just a weird combination. And I could go into coaching too, specifically play calling. I think it's just really frustrating. It doesn't seem like there's any synergy. It seems like plays are just being called, not reacting to the defense or situationally or things of that nature. It's just, oh, well, this one's next on the sheet. Yeah, run it. Which is frustrating. And it doesn't feel like the offense is attacking what the defense presents. It just seems like they are running does that make sense? It's kind of interesting to look at.
No, it does. Now, Eric, I don't know if you know this. I'm going to educate you a little bit. Football comes down to the trenches. Okay? Just so you know.
I've never heard that.
I know. Breaking news on this podcast. But I know that's the obvious thing to say, but I've watched Syracuse all year, and even against Colgate, there were times they were not dominating the trenches. Yeah. The offensive line has given up 8 sacks. The defense has only accumulated 3 sacks. This is not a defense that has put a lot of pass rush out there. So I still have a lot of questions in the trenches for this team. You brought up the defense. Okay, you have 2 high-level NFL first-round draft picks on that defensive line in Peter Woods and TJ Parker, but you touched on it a bit. I feel like we're not hearing those names a lot, right? What's up there? Are they just getting double-teamed? Are teams aware of it, right? And that's, to me, if I'm Syracuse, that's my fear, that those 2 find themselves in this game, because this is a Syracuse offensive line that's been shuffling guys around. They've got a key injury at left tackle right now. Travion Mack is out, and they've been going back and forth between 2 guys who haven't exactly locked down that spot. And right up until kickoff against Tennessee, Mac, Dale Williams, the Syracuse offensive line coach, seemed to be trying to fit the puzzle pieces together. And now you're playing a Clemson defensive line that on paper still has some dudes.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt. And you bring up the 8 sacks. I think that has to come with a grain of salt. You've also thrown it more than anybody in the world. So guess what? There's more opportunity.
That's fair. Yeah.
To be sacked. And that was kind of my thing last year, because people wanted to point at that at Kyle McCord. And I said, that's great. He's thrown the ball twice as much as anybody else. So it's just, it happens. That's part of, the unfortunate consequence when you throw the ball, and when you throw the ball a lot, and when teams know you're going to throw the ball a lot. And so I'm not overly concerned that it'll be outside of the norm, which it stinks to say and bizarre to say because of those guys you just mentioned. Will Held is by far playing the absolute best on that defensive line. And guess what? He's a transfer. And guess what? He's not a first-round draft pick projected preseason. And he's fighting, for that. And does he emerge into that? Maybe. Who knows? I think he's going to test unbelievably well at the combine. I think he's proven that he's a war daddy and a really good player right now. TJ Parker is non-existent. If you didn't know he was on the team, you wouldn't know he was playing in the game, because he has had no stats. He has not been felt at all. Teams have been singling him. There was a Georgia Tech fan posted a video of just him getting mauled by the Georgia Tech offensive line time and time again, and tagged me and said, hey, thought you'd like this. I'm like, oh, thanks, brother. Appreciate that. So he's got to play. He's got to play to what he is, or what you're making right now is going to be what you're making next year. And it could be significantly more. And you're not taking advantage of that, to boost yourself up into a top 10 pick, a top 5 pick, which everyone thought that you'd be. So I don't know. I think it's crazy to see that, to see a guy that had that much potential, has that much skill, was so good a year ago, and you expect him, to take another step. He's been non-existent. So that's frustrating. Peter Woods, on the other hand, I think has been playing well. He has been double teamed essentially every play, and yet still, finding a way to impact the game. And now it not super productive, but enough that you feel him, and enough that teams have to either bounce around him, double team him every time. And you hope that would free up, some of those linebackers and allow them to do their thing. I would like to see the defense be a little bit more aggressive and some more blitzes and, just getting after the quarterback. But when you have a team and an experienced quarterback like Angeli, who's going to throw it 1 billion times, maybe you can't, because you get burned, and he's going to see it, and he's going to throw right behind it.
Yeah, 2 years in a row, a Jeff Nixon offense has produced the nation's leading passer. So we'll see if Angeli stays on the top of the heap there. But Nixon has brought a system that can challenge a lot of different defenses. And if they can give Steve just enough time to throw the football, he could quiet down that stadium quickly. And here's my last thought on this game. Then we'll move on to a couple other things, Mac. Death Valley is a unique experience. I would encourage anybody to go there once in their life and see him run down the hill and the whole thing. But with a fan base that's a little edgy right now, if Syracuse finds success early, never are, what's the capacity there? Is it 80,000?
Yeah, 82.
Yeah, never are 82,000 people more quiet than that, right?
That's
So I think that's this game. If they can come in, get some success early, protect Angeli, take that crowd out of it, and all of a sudden everybody's looking around questioning each other again, then Syracuse has a real shot here. If anything, man, for entertainment purposes only, 17.5 or whatever, you're going on there.
Hey, everybody listening, hammer the orange. Go take that money. That's free money. That ain't happening. 17.5 ain't happening.
All right, Mac. So it's always interesting to ask this question now and then see where we're at in 2 months. But with ACC play beginning around the league, it is for Syracuse, and some first ACC matchups in the books. Who's the best team in the league right now?
Well, that Bama win is getting farther away, right? But that Bama team's looking better and better. Man,
Did you see
Miami,
him last week? Was it Georgia
right,
Tech? No, it's
right.
Miami.
Yeah, right. I think Miami is the most complete team in the country. I think when you look at them, there's no weakness. There's no way when you're breaking down film, you're like, there it is. We can attack this. It doesn't exist. Their offensive line is huge, is elite, is great in pass pro, is great running the football. Their running backs have unbelievable patience and vision and power. I mean, they're running. If a guy does get through, and gets an arm tackle, they're running straight through it. Carson Beck has put on a masterclass of protections, of adjustments, side adjustments, routes, motions. It is awesome to watch that. A guy that people could not wait for him to leave, a guy that people wanted to get out of the door. He's the best quarterback in the country right now, and he's playing like that. And the ownership, and they added a little quarterback run last week, which is the first time we'd seen that, which I love. And I think that's super dynamic, for them. Wide receivers were a question, no more. Those guys are balling. 2 young freshmen that look insane and really, extending plays, coming down with the football, big plays downfield. And then a defense that was clearly the Achilles heel. What kept them out of Nick Saban says a national championship potentially it is completely revitalized. They went out and got a great defensive backfield, 5 new guys, 4 of which have been unbelievable. Hitters, long, in coverage, sticky, really, really fun there. But the 2 guys that were been there, done that, Keem Mesidor coming over from West Virginia a handful of years ago, Ruben Bain, born and raised right there, in South Florida. Those guys are playing out of their mind. And here's the crazy thing, and I don't know if I've ever seen this before through 3 games. 2 defensive ends are your leading tacklers on defense. That is nuts. Yeah. And that's amazing. And I just think they're a complete team. I love Miami. And I think they can easily, win the ACC, not easily, but win the ACC. And I think they can mess around and be or win a national championship.
How about Georgia Tech? You saw them, last week, of course, take out Clemson, and they just feel like they're a team that no one wants to play because of how physical they are. I love how Brent Key runs that squad. Like, they win a certain way and they don't apologize for it. Can they stay in the hunt for this thing and be in that ACC title game?
Yeah, no, I don't think any question. You look at their schedule. Let me talk about the team first. Yes, I think they're a very physical team. I think that they 100% carbon copy what their head coach does and how he is and the things that he wants to see, which is great. Physical on the edges, physical in how they cover kicks and return kicks, and then just the attitude specifically up front and from their quarterback. Like, they want the ball on them. They want it all on their shoulders, and they're going to go right through you to win a football game. And I think Haynes King is as dynamic as they come. And the only question that I have is sustainability and health. Can you do that for 16 games? I don't know. We haven't seen it. He's been hurt a lot in his career, but when healthy, he's as good as it comes. And I like the backup in Aaron Philo as well. So maybe it doesn't matter, but they are significantly different when those 2 are in there. Aaron completely different as a passer, much more efficient, big arm, very accurate, but does not have anywhere near the catalyst type of running, gritty, mentality yet as a Haynes King. So I would probably put them behind Florida State, Miami Miami number 1, FSU 1A, 1B, and then Georgia Tech right now, right behind them.
Last thing for you, Mac. I'm always interested when a coaching job comes open in this day and age. I think it's even a lot different than when Fran Brown took over at Syracuse. This has evolved to the point of money, not only what you pay a coach, what kind of coach you pursue. Do you grab an up-and-comer and not have to pay them as much as, say, a established name that's out there that could step in? Virginia Tech obviously has a very passionate fan base, but what kind of coach do they have to look for in this day and age, the modern era of NIL and everything that factors into the ACC and college football these days?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing that they need to do is understand when they're hiring this guy what Virginia Tech football means to those fans. And you've got to get a guy that comes in and knows that. And whether that is the emphasis on winning at home, the emphasis on winning close games at home, that crowd is unbelievable. I mean, they got housed by Vanderbilt a week ago or the week before, whatever it was, 34 points, 38 points, whatever, in the second half, over 300 yards outgained. And yet they play ODU the next week and there's barely a seat in the house. I mean, that's crazy. That is awesome to see. And they deserve better. So you got to get a guy that can do that. And then, it's a decision. What do you want to do? You want an offensive mind? You want a defensive mind? Do you want a CEO that's going to run it? And he's going to bring in great coordinators. I'm fascinated to see how they do it, when they do it, because, firing somebody 3 games in is a big decision. And it's a fascinating one as well. We also just heard earlier today or on Wednesday that they might be shifting more to an NFL approach. So does that mean a GM is going to be hired? What is his role going to be? Is it going to be like Andrew Luck and Ron Rivera, or is it going to be, like some of these other teams where it's just kind of a talent evaluator, a contract guy? Where's Virginia Tech going? This is a pivotal point in time of this program where we're talking about expansion, we're talking about Super League, and we're talking all these things. How are you going to set up Virginia Tech for that when your AD just came off of a board meeting a month and a half ago saying how poor you were and how you have no money? I'm fascinated just to see how this goes, what decision they make, because this will change the outlook forever for Virginia Tech football and how they can continue to play or not play with the big boys.
All right, I lied. I have one more question for you because I know you love to talk about Fran Brown. What you're thinking about, kind of zooming out broadly here about how Fran's running the program. It feels like he's going viral once a week for something. He knows how to get attention for his program. He's made some big recruiting wins, notably Calvin Russell, huge wide receiver out of the Miami area. And I think a lot of Syracuse fans, it's funny, Dabo said this the other day, they bet we could go 6-6. And a lot of SU fans are like, hey, listen, with our schedule, they go 6-6. We'll take that and run and hope to build for next year, right? So it shows you the different level of expectation. But just what's your zoomed out view of when Fran Brown kind of crosses your radar and what you think he's building up here?
Yeah, it's been tremendous, man. I love seeing it. The first time I ever met him, just such a competitor, right? And a guy that wants to win and a guy that's going to ask questions and lean on, his mentors to be the best that he can. But the one thing that you keep hearing time and time again about him is how real he is, how genuine he is. And that's been every interaction that I've ever had. He knows how to build it from a physical standpoint, from a what the guys should look like standpoint. And obviously he's had unbelievable success with transfer quarterbacks and bringing them in. You've got 2 guys in a row. I know there's the rest of the season to go, but Steve is leading the country in passing yards. He went from a backup that, people knew from 1 or 2 playoff drives to now leading the entire country. That matters. That's going to get people's attention when they're thinking about where should I go, what should be next for me, and how he is recruiting and how he's making guys just buy into how he's doing it and how he wants to do it. And then, of course, all the off-field stuff with, job security and getting guys job and taking care of what you need to take care of. He understands that this is a very finite, amount of time here that we have to be great. And that's going to stop eventually. And we want to be as great as we can. And we're going to work as hard as we can and be as, good as football players. But then there's a next step too. And he just fully embodies all that, man. And it's been a joy to get to know him and to cover him in this great conference.
All right, Mac, before we let you go, hit me with the plugs. I feel like you got when do you sleep, man? You're on the ACC Network. You got 14 podcasts going at once. You made time for us today, but where could people find your work?
Yeah. Sleep in the plane, man, when I'm going somewhere. That's when we do it. But, Grambling and Mac Lain, the OGs, we always appreciate y'all support. Always appreciate you, Axe, coming on there with us to chop it up with the ACC, with my girl KG there. And then I started a new one, as you mentioned, Mac and Murray. that's kind of a more national focus. I wanted to be able to talk all ball, across the entire country. That's been a ton of fun. So that's Mac and Murray over on YouTube. And then, of course, the ACC Network, man. We're going to the biggest, best games every weekend. We'll be down in Miami to see the Hurricanes destroy the Gators. Cannot wait for that. It's going to be a huge deal. And hopefully we get up to Syracuse soon, man. I need to see my people up there.
There's a Halloween night game against North Carolina Friday night.
Man. Well, Friday. We only do Saturdays. I wish we could do Friday.
Well, why do we learn the rules, Eric? So we know when to break them, okay? Like, to talk to your bosses, because I want to see that crew in their Halloween costumes.
That would be fun.
I mean,
I could make it happen.
I'm just thinking in terms of television here, all right? Just saying to our ACC Network producers watching. It'd be great TV.
That's right. We can clip this and send it to them. That's what we'll do.
There you go. So when you do make it back here, can't wait to see it. Thanks for coming on with us as always, my friend. Really appreciate it, and we'll definitely catch up soon.
Appreciate you, brother.
My thanks to our friend Eric Mac Lain of the Mac Lain and Gramlich podcast. Congratulations to Kelly, by the way, who recently had another baby, but she'll be back on that pod soon. ACC Network, Mac and Murray. Eric Mac Lain's all over the world talking college football. We're always happy to have him here on the pod. I felt like Eric needed to, like Dabo, kind of get his feelings out a little bit on the pod. That's what Uncle Brent is for. That's what Dr. Axe is for sometimes. In this job, sometimes even though I'm not qualified and certainly don't have the degree, you're kind of, you're like a psychiatrist sometimes. You just got to put somebody on the couch and let them express their feelings a little bit, which we do for our Syracuse Sports Insiders, of course. You guys can talk sports with me anytime. We get a wave of text from you during games. We get your comments highlighted on the Syracuse Sports Podcast and, of course, our Syracuse football postgame show. Don't forget, Saturday night after Syracuse takes on Clemson, actually more Saturday afternoon with a noon kickoff coming for this game. We'll be with you doing the postgame show live. That's on Facebook, it's on YouTube, it's on Twitter. But if you can't listen live and watch live, that's why subscribing is important, guys. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you get your pods, make sure you follow and subscribe to Syracuse Sports so you can listen to the podcast and the postgame show on demand when you want. Yeah, I'm wondering about the trenches, guys. I do have Clemson winning this game. I do think they're going to put it together. I'd feel a lot better about this game if it was in the Dome. I know that Clemson is kind of off kilter what they usually are, but I just have not seen Syracuse dominate in the trenches the way they need to, even against the likes of UConn and Colgate, for me to feel comfortable that they can outlast Clemson in that department in this game in Death Valley. If they do, what a signature win that even in the best case scenarios of going through what is one of the toughest schedules that I've ever seen for Syracuse football, I don't think anybody marked this as a win, but that's why they play the games, friends. That's why I say often on this show, on social media, in real life, sports, you just never know, right? And what a massive win this would be for Syracuse in a lot of ways. And maybe Dabo will be on the beach after this one if Syracuse takes down the Tigers. Either way, we'll be talking about it on the postgame show and here on the Syracuse Sports Podcast. Hope you can go back and listen to some of the previous episodes we've had. We've had some great guests and a lot of good, meaty Syracuse football talk. As of late, basketball season's right around the corner. You know we're going to get into that. And a couple great guests that are on the way here on the pod that we've already got in the can. I don't like to highlight guests till I know they're done. And as we like to say in the business, we got them in the can. We got a couple good ones in the can coming for you. So stay tuned here, my friends, and on the Syracuse Sports Insider text line. For now, this has been another episode of Syracuse Sports presented by Krause Health, the exclusive healthcare partner for Syracuse Athletics. My name is Brent Axe. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing. And thanks for sending in your original music to be featured here on the pod. Let's let them take us out. James and the Kyusonics here with Work It.
Tried to make back time I lost every time. Well, I found out Lake Nocta has a hangout way across town. Don't see me when I'm down. String me right along. Work it all around. You're a clever kid, you know what you did. Won't be news to you, gonna see things through. Sure, she felt the